What is up, everybody? Just finished watching the San Francisco Lions conference championship game, and needless to say, uh, Dan Campbell's stupidity loses another game for Detroit. We talked about this last time with the controversial reporting call. We did a whole video about that. And regardless of the call, you kick the extra point, you go to overtime. You don't go for it three times, especially when you're back up to the 5 and the 7 yard. You don't go for it. You go to overtime. Dan Campbell's lack of emotional maturity is mind-boggling to me. And shout out to Nick Wright. He literally said this on First Things First. Great show. Love him, Wilds, Richard, the crew. But Nick Wright said this, and I talked about a lot of his takes because I agree with a lot of his takes. Nick Wright says some really spot-on stuff on FS1. And he talked about that he couldn't buy into the Lions because he couldn't trust Dan Campbell to have emotional maturity in situations and not do something dumb, like go for it three times, like he did against Dallas. And that ultimately Dan Campbell would make decisions like that was going to cost Detroit a playoff game. Because these games are really tight, the decisions are magnified, and you have to be able to make the right decisions. The fact that Dan Campbell passed on not one, but two field goals is the reason why Detroit lost this football game. And I don't want to hear anything about, well, the one, it was there, and Reynolds should have caught it. It was a great play call, good route, good throw. He just dropped it. It was the right decision. I hate people that talk about it being the right decision because the guy was open or because the play design worked. That's why you don't go for it there, because things like that happen. Dropped passes, a bad throw. Those are the type of things that can happen. That's why you don't go for it. You take the points. The whole purpose of, well, the kicker could have missed it too. You're right, he could have missed it. But the point is, you can live with the right decisions not getting the result you want from the right decisions. I can live with making the right decision and it not working out. What I can't live with is making the wrong decision and just being a gambler for no reason and then losing and it not working out. Because if you kick those two field goals, if the kicker makes one of them, you're in overtime right now. The game's not over. You're in overtime. If he makes both of them, you win the game. You lost by 3 points. 3 points is what you lost by. You passed on 6. You passed on 6 points. You lost by 3. That's the problem. And it's becoming an epidemic in the NFL of all these people wanting to pass on field goals. When you have an opportunity to get points, you take the fucking points. Period. The fact that you're going to pass on 2 field goals is pure stupidity. The fact that you're going to put your defense, which is the weakest part of your team, in a position against San Francisco's offense, who has just started rolling and starting to figure it out in the second half, the fact that you're going to pass on points that would allow you to maintain the lead even if they score a touchdown and continue to make it a 2-score game is a dumb decision. It's asinine. It makes no sense. And then they do go down and score. Now it's a 1-possession game. Then you have a fumble. They go down and score again. Then you go down and have an opportunity to kick a field goal again and get the lead back. And you pass on it again. And they go down and kick their own field goal. And then they go down and score again. I mean, or I'm sorry, you had an opportunity to tie the game with a field goal and you passed. And they go down and then make it a 2-score game. I don't care what you guys want to say about, well, the fact that he's aggressive, and Greg Olson said this on the broadcast, and it's dumb. Well, the fact that they're aggressive, that's how they got here, and this and that. Yeah, this isn't Thursday night football in week 5. You don't just overly aggressive do a bunch of nonsense in the conference championship with a trip to the Super Bowl on the line. You don't play the riverboat gambler with a trip to the Super Bowl on the line. That's not what you do. It's dumb. It's absolutely dumb. And the fact that Dan Campbell can do things like go for it 3 times against Dallas. They literally, you had the opportunity twice to make up for the mistake to go for it in the first place. The mistake to go for it in the first place. The whole ineligible, all that nonsense. The fact that you went for it in the first place. I don't care if the play worked. The fact you went for it in the first place was a dumb decision. You decided to gamble, and ultimately you lost the gamble. And then they gave you an opportunity to make up for it, and you gambled again and lost. And then they gave you another opportunity to make up for it, and you gambled again and lost. Like I said, that you're mad at the refs, so you go for it 3 times. Like, the fact that you can't trust Dan Campbell to make any common sense decisions with taking points and putting points on the board, there's nothing to be said. There's nothing to be said to justify what I just watched. And I know there's going to be people in the comments, and I know a lot of you diehard Lions fans are going, well, Dan Campbell's great, and we should have went for it on 4th down, and this and that. You're dumb. You absolutely should not have. Because looking back now, I bet you wish you had those 2 field goals on the board, don't you? Because you would have won the game. And I said this about Dallas when Dallas lost the Philly game. They passed on 2 field goals. If they would have exactly, and it played out exactly like the San Francisco game when Dallas lost early in the year at Philly. It's the same thing. You pass on field goals, late in games, you lose games. Because Dallas ended up in the same boat, sitting there at the end of the game, down 3, or they were down 6. Yeah, bet you wish you had those 2 field goals now, don't you? Yeah, Detroit. I bet you wish you had those 6 points on the board now, don't you? It's just nonsense. It's absolute stupidity to pass on points there, and all these coaches are doing it, and it's so dumb, because especially in this situation, you have to understand the magnitude of the situation. San Francisco is rolling. They're at home. They've just came back to tie the game. They've taken the momentum. You are a young, inexperienced football team. Young and inexperienced. Your guys, when you put them in a position to then be tied and then losing, are going to play differently when they're losing than when they're ahead. They're young and inexperienced. Palms start getting sweaty. Hands start getting tight. Balls feels a little bit heavier. Your legs feel a little bit heavier. Your brain's overthinking. Oh my God, are we really going to let them come back and win this game? It totally flips the momentum, and it flips the psychology of the players upstairs. They go from, hey man, they made a run. They made a run but hey, we got a 3-point lead. Let's go. We got this. We just got to protect this 3-point lead now. There's a difference between being in the lead and losing mentally. And the fact that you're going to put yourself in a position to be losing instead of in the lead makes absolutely no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. And it totally switches the whole momentum of the game. It switches the entire momentum of the game. Like, why would you put a young, inexperienced team in a position to have to play from behind on the road in the conference championship? That's not a smart thing to do. especially against a team like San Francisco, who's been there 4 years in a row. They've been to Super Bowls. A lot of guys still on that roster from the Super Bowl. What did you think was going to happen? They're not nervous. They're not worried about it. They're ready to cook. They're completely comfortable. They're like, yep, we're back in this game. We weathered the storm. Here we go. We're the better team across the board on paper. Let's go. You're the one who has an experience disadvantage. You're the one who has a bunch of young guys that are more likely to make mistakes than the correct play in moments like this. Not them. They're going to make the correct play. They've been here before. They know what to do. They know how to handle the pressure. They know how to handle the situation. It's not too big for them. You've never been here, and your guys are young. You don't know if the moment's too big for them or not until they're in it. So why are you intentionally putting them in a position to be in it? Makes no sense. Dan Campbell, just pure stupidity of I'm going to go for it, regardless of the consequences, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of whether it makes sense or not. I'm just going to go for it because that's who I am and we're going for it. That's dumb. And when you're playing with a huge lead, it changes things. And I'm a pro go for it guy. 4th and 1s, 4th and inches. I'm always like, yeah, go for it. Go for it. Except in situations like this, when I have the opportunity of, I need the points. I need the points here. I got a trip to the Super Bowl on the line. It's not time to be a gambler. I got a trip to the Super Bowl on the line. I'm going to take the points and make sure if I do cough up a touchdown, I can get the lead back with a touchdown. It's still only a 1-score game. I'm not going to put myself down 2 scores. I mean, it doesn't make sense to go for it there mathematically. It doesn't make sense to go for it from a risk standpoint. It doesn't make sense to go for it from a momentum of the game standpoint. None of it. It doesn't make sense across the board in any way. And like I said, you can argue whatever you want, and you can sound like a moron if you want. Guys, this is quote from Mike Fisher, love his show. Guys, this is classroom barroom, and it's time to be in the classroom. This is not the bar room. I don't give a shit about your opinion. This is classroom now. You lost the game by 3 points. If you had an opportunity to score 6 extra points. 6 extra points on your total. You would have won the game by 3 points. Instead, you lost the game by 3 points because you passed on 6 points. That would have won you the game. I don't give a shit about your opinion. I don't give a shit about what you think about Dan Campbell and his aggressiveness and whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. It doesn't matter. This is classroom now. You lost because you passed on points. Dan Campbell lost the game. And I was a big proponent of Detroit's a good team. They're young. They're about a year away. They're not ready yet. They're about a year away. They're young. They're inexperienced. I don't think the guys are ready for these moments. I don't think Hutchinson's as good as he's going to be yet. I don't know how things are going to play out. Gibbs didn't look good early in the year. The players proved me wrong. Detroit was ready this year, and they absolutely, I believe, would have beat Kansas City in the Super Bowl because they already did it week 1. And Detroit's a hell of a lot better than they were week 1. So I can't sympathize or go along with this. Well, the aggressiveness is how we got here and this and that. It's called common sense, guys. There's a time to be aggressive and there's a time to manage the game. Dan Campbell didn't manage the game. He didn't manage the game against Dallas. He didn't manage the game tonight. Everybody wants to talk about this rise of Detroit. Dan Campbell's first year, they started 0-10, guys. 0-10. They never lost any of those games by more than 7 points. And Detroit has done this multiple times where they give up big leads. Why? Because when you get a big lead, it's now time to stop being overly aggressive. When you have a big lead, now it's preservation mode. We need to protect the lead. We need to take field goals, extend the lead, protect the points, keep climbing the score. We don't need to go for it on fourth down. We're not losing. We're trying to protect our lead. We're trying to preserve our lead. Dan Campbell is balls to the wall 24 hours a day. Hey, we got a 30-point lead. Let's go for it 3 times and let them back in the game. And the thing is this, guys, even if they would have converted both of those fourth downs, I'm still sitting here on this video saying Dan Campbell tried to lose the game for Detroit, making 2 horrible decisions. That's the thing, is everybody's like, oh, you're either the hero or you're the GOAT on calls like that. I'm not like that. Even if you get it, I'm still calling you a moron. If Reynolds catches it, you're a moron. Why in the hell would you risk going for it there? You're a moron. If Goff doesn't get pressured and can hit Amon-Ra in the second one, you're an idiot for going for it there. Just because you make a bad decision and it works out for you does not mean you made the right decision, does not make it smart. I hate the people that say, oh, well, it's smart because it worked. No, it's not. It's not smart because it worked. I can throw a basketball backwards behind my head without looking. And if it goes in, was that a smart way to shoot it? No, it was a dumb way to shoot it, and I got lucky. There's a difference between being smart and being lucky. And if you get those, you're lucky. You're not smart. So you guys can say what you want, but to get back on point, they started 0-10 in Campbell's first year. A lot of those games they lost by 7 points. Why? Because Detroit, like we were just talking about, they can't manage leads. They give up big leads because they're overly aggressive. This has come back in the 3 years that Campbell's been the coach there. Time and time and time and time again, this continues to happen and continues to bite Detroit in the ass. That Dan just, oh, I'm mad that they threw a flag on the 2-point conversion to Dallas. I'll show the refs. I'll show them. I'm going to go for it. I'll go for it again. Doesn't have the emotional maturity to sit back and say, okay, let's let it settle. Let's kick. Let's regroup. We may or may not have got screwed. That's a conversation for after the game. Let's regroup, get this into overtime, and try to get out of here with a win. Nope. I'll show you, refs. I'll go for it again from the 7. How about that? How you like that? Saw a meme the other day, and it's true. And this is going to continue to be the downfall for Detroit. Yeah, every once in a while it's going to work. You'll get those 4th downs. Maybe you win some football games. But these are the ramifications of what can happen when you're just stupid, because you don't have to sit there and go, oh, well, maybe we'll win, maybe we won't. It depends on if we get lucky or not on 4th down. No, if you just make the right decisions, you win the game. And you win the game 95% of the time. When you're in situations like this, you make the right decisions like kicking field goals and taking points, you win the game 95% of the time. Why do I want to win the game 50% of the time when I can win the game 95% of the time? That doesn't make sense. Oh, well, because Dan Campbell gambles and goes for it and it works 50% of the time, that means we should continue to do that. No, I don't want to lose half my games on bullshit when I can win 95% of my games just not being retarded. I mean, it's nonsense. And I saw a meme, and it's true, and it's going to be the downfall of Detroit in a lot of big games throughout Campbell's tenure, unless he decides to finally straighten up, act like a grown-up, and take points when he has points. And it's the guy sitting there, and it was a meme after the Dallas game. They think they got bigger balls than me. Let's go for it. Who is they? But okay, yeah, let's go for it, guys. Oh, flag killed us. Okay, yeah, extra point, guys. Let's go. No. Leave the offense out there. They think they got bigger balls than me. Who is they? Kick the extra point. Send it into overtime. They think they got bigger balls than me. I'm going for it again from the 7. Oh, thank God Micah Parsons jumped offside. Coach, kick the field goal. Let's take this to overtime. Please, please kick the field goal. They think they got bigger balls than me. Who is they? Kick the extra point. What are you doing? They think they got bigger balls than me. We're going for it again. And it's true. It's like, that's like, and it's funny because it's true. Like, that's been the thought process, I guess, with Dan Campbell. Instead of just common sense, field goal means we would be winning the game still. Even if they score a touchdown, we would still be winning the game. And, yeah, I'd rather play from in front. It's not a hard decision. And then it's, oh, well, dang, we kicked the field goal. They just scored another touchdown. Okay, well, we can go get the lead back with a touchdown. We're down 4 points, not 10. I mean, this is common sense stuff, guys. It's sad. It's sad. Detroit proved me wrong. The players proved me wrong. They really came together at the end of the year. They were better than I thought they were. There's a lot of guys on the, like I said, on the roster I thought were probably about a year away from really being those guys like Hutchinson and Gibbs, and those guys proved me wrong, 100%. Those guys were ready to play tonight. They did everything they needed to do to win that game. They should have won the game, and their coach took the game away from them. Like I said, you guys can argue with me if you want in the comments. I don't care. It's dumb. Dan Campbell, stupidity. As we labeled the other video, Dan Campbell's stupidity loses the Lions the game. If you haven't watched the video, check it out. We continue to talk about the same stuff, guys, over and over again. It's the same conversation we're having now about a different scenario where Dan Campbell decides he wants to be overly aggressive for no reason. Now we're having the same conversation over again. Dan Campbell's stupidity loses the Lions a game. And unfortunately, it was the game you couldn't afford to lose. The conference championship. You had a trip to the Super Bowl on the line against a team that you absolutely could have beat in Kansas City and got Detroit their first Super Bowl. And your ego and your stupidity cost them the game. I'm going to be who I am. I don't care about the results. Okay. Well, I hope you're happy with your results. Being who you are. Congratulations, Dan. You are who you are. I hope you're happy with the results. And I want to make this clear, guys. I love Dan Campbell. I think he's a great coach. He is one of the best motivators I've ever seen. The physicality and the toughness that he's instilled in that Detroit team has made them who they are. And I wish that the Cowboys had a coach like Dan Campbell to put some toughness in that pansy-filled locker room in Dallas, that country club of a locker room. But just because you're a good coach, you're a leader of men, you're a motivator, just because you excel in all those things does not mean I'm going to let you off the hook and that you should be let off the hook for the stupidity of what you just did tonight. Doesn't mean I'm going to let you off the hook for a lack of emotional maturity in situations like this and a lack of willingness to do the right thing versus I'm going to be who I am. You have to deal with that tonight. You're the reason Detroit's going home. It's not, San Francisco's not the reason Detroit's going home. Your players aren't the reason that they're going home. You're the reason they're going home. Because of the decisions that you made. And despite you're a great coach, you're one of the top 5 coaches in the NFL, I believe. The decisions you made, once again, cost your team a football game on pure stupidity. Sad. Lions fans, I feel for you. They're my second favorite team. I was hoping to actually see one of my teams that I watched this year do anything positive, and didn't get to see that tonight. Dan Campbell robbed us all of the opportunity to see the Lions potentially win a Super Bowl. and it's sad. Thanks for watching, guys. As always, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Turn notifications on so you guys know when we're coming out with content, and you guys can see these videos when they come out. And as always, raw takes, no apologies. Check you guys later. Go Lions.